We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hey, hello. It is Josh Bowe from Pod Maverick. This is Pod Maverick After Dark. I am joined by not Kirk Henderson. I am joined by Matt Martinez, one of our staffers at MavsMoneyball.com. If you have been reading our site at any point in the last season, you have seen Matt's name a lot. He is one of our troopers in producing content and getting a lot of game day content, especially. Matt, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, man. What a game to be able to talk about. We had a treat.
I know. I'm so glad you got to. We were talking right before we hit record. Matt's done a post game pod with me before. He subbed in for Kirk. Kirk had family obligations and things like that, so he needed a night off. Couldn't remember if he won the last time Matt did a pod, but I mean the Mavericks certainly won this one, and probably. I don't know. Maybe
we'll probably remember this one.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll definitely remember this one. Maybe the most exciting win the Mavericks have had all season. I haven't even said the score yet. Dallas wins 108-106 against the Golden State Warriors. The Mavericks on the second night of a back-to-back. The Warriors also on the second night of a back-to-back. Just a really intense, gritty, physical playoff atmosphere type game that went all the way down to the wire. And the Mavericks get a game-winning layup from P.J. Washington with 4.5 seconds left. They guard Steph Curry tremendously on the final possession, forced Klay Thompson to kind of take a wild shot. And I honestly don't even know if he got it off in time. But he missed it either way at the buzzer. And the Mavericks pick up a crucial win, back-to-back wins after losing to this same Golden State team a couple days ago. And this was a huge win because if you look at the standings, Sacramento Kings, they lost to Boston. The New Orleans Pelicans lost to the San Antonio Spurs. Doesn't look like the Mavericks are going to get help elsewhere as the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Clippers are both up by at least 20 against Utah and Minnesota late in the second quarter for Clippers. Early in the third quarter for Phoenix. So it looks like, they're not going to get any help against Phoenix or the Clippers, but the Mavericks are now comfortably in fifth. They are comfortably out of the play-in right now because now they're 2.5 ahead of seventh place New Orleans. They own the tiebreaker for New Orleans. They're 3 games up on the Sacramento Kings for eighth. So huge win, huge night for the Mavericks. Almost, I don't think nothing's clinched yet, but this almost assured them to stay out of the play-in. Obviously, they want to try to get up to fourth if they can. That'll be difficult, but we'll talk about that later because we got to talk about a pretty awesome game. I just want to kick it to you, Matt, for your kind of initial thoughts. What did you think of the down the stretch fourth quarter play, the last minute? Mavericks coughed up a 10-point fourth quarter lead because Steph Curry went Steph Curry, and then they found a way to win. How'd they do it?
Man, my heart rate is still dangerously high. Yeah, I mean, I had a couple moments in the last 3 or 4 minutes where I thought, oh man, this is going to break me if this all falls apart. The 16-point lead in the first quarter, then, like you said, a 10-point lead in the fourth. The Warriors battle back both times, and it's defense. It's PJ Washington. In this game, I was really impressed by Derek Jones Jr. and the way he defended Steph and Clay and all their perimeter threats. Stocks. What do you have? What I know that PJ had 7, and that's 5 steals and 2 blocks. What is the Mavs total as a team for stocks?
They had 18 as a team, 9 steals, 9 blocks. They had 7 of those stocks. 7 of those 18 came in the fourth quarter. 4 of PJ's steals came in the fourth quarter. They had 3 blocks.
Unreal.
2 from Derek Jones Jr., 1 blocking Steph Curry on a 3-pointer, which doesn't happen a lot. And then the other block was Kyrie Irving, because he manages to find his way into a block every now and then, because he's kind of crafty defensively. He can be a space cadet sometimes off the ball, but man, when he's locked in, he can make some plays. He likes making some splash plays. But
I guess go ahead. I just guess my other main takeaway was, of course, when Luke is announced out, you start looking, okay, well, what's the next game? This game might not go our way, right? But it had to be everybody. And we will talk so much about PJ Washington, but it had to be everybody tonight. And they got timely contributions from Exum. They got Tim Hardaway Jr. miraculously making the correct play on that game winner. They got Daniel Gafford was as big as ever in the lane, both on offense and defense. It had to be all hands on deck, and everybody stepped up. Everybody stepped up.
Yeah, we're gonna get to PJ Washington because obviously he is the star of the night. But I'm glad you mentioned Tim Hardaway Jr. Because he had a very interesting game, and I feel like what he did down the stretch kind of encompassed what this Mavericks team has kind of been about since the trade deadline, since they've started to turn their season around. He had, not only did he have the assist to PJ for the game-winning assist, he also had another assist in the fourth quarter for a layup. He had 2 assists in the fourth quarter. He's now, I can't believe this. I had to look it up. He's now 3 straight games with at least 3 assists. And this is a guy that barely averages under 2 a game. I've never been a big pass guy. That's stating the obvious.
Right.
Each of his assists felt like he had the opportunity to shoot. It would have been a bad shot each time, but he made the right read. And I think it was really crucial to see that, not only, to see Tim, redeem himself and able to make positive contributions without his shot falling. He was 1 of 7 from 3, 4 of 13 overall. His shot was terrible. But also there was a moment at the end of the first half where, Golden State scored without 7 seconds left, toward the end of the half. And then the Mavericks get the last shot, and they inbounded it into Hardaway, and he literally just dribbled the full length of the court and took a kind of a wild, desperation buzzer beater that missed. And Kyrie was I don't want to speak because we don't know what's actually going on the court. I'm not at the game. We're not asking post-game questions. But Kyrie was mad and was kind of gesturing at Tim. And you don't see Kyrie get mad at his teammates very often. But he looked mad at Tim for, basically kind of hogging the ball there at the end of the first half. And it looked like Kyrie went up and kind of talked to him as they were walking into the locker room. And he kind of gestured at him. And he looked frustrated. And Luka looked frustrated with Tim, I want to say a couple games ago. Maybe it was in that Golden State loss. I can't remember. And I was just thinking, I made a mental note. I was like, that's not good. Like, to see your two stars that visibly frustrated with a guy that, like it or not, is a featured role player on this team. So for Tim to come out in the second half, and obviously he didn't light the world on fire. He didn't shoot well at all. But for him to make like 2 winning plays in the fourth quarter, that they would have lost the game if he didn't make those 2 plays, those 2 passes. I mean, that's saying something. Like, I mean, I don't know how much that counts for. Not saying it redeems, the rest of his game, but I just thought that was kind of special that he was able to do that for a guy that just he's not a passer. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool. What did you think?
Yeah, for his body, I guess I don't want to call it out because our Slack is a safe space for our most incendiary opinions. But overheard in our Mavs Moneyball Slack, I guess, it must have been an insane tug of war between his body trying to make the correct decision and his mind only going, no, shoot, no, shoot. To overcome one's own brain and make the right basketball play. Look, what was it, 4 for 13? I don't mind tonight. This, like you said, this doesn't excuse like a stretch of mediocre play, but it excuses the rest of his night tonight for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And now we got to get to who he made that game-winning pass to. PJ Washington, 32. It was a monster game. 32 points. You already mentioned the steals, 5 steals, 4 of them in the fourth quarter, 2 blocks, 3 assists, 5 rebounds, 4 turnovers, which is okay because he had to do a lot. 12 of 18 shooting, 5 of 8 from 3. Easily his career high as the Dallas Mavericks since the trade. Not his career high, which is in the 40s, but career high since he's been traded to Dallas. He's on something. I mean, like, he entered this game, I believe, shooting 45% in the last 6 games from 3. He's been on a really nice stretch. He now has 3 straight games at 19 or more points, and he hadn't done back-to-back 15 or more points before those 3 games since he got traded to Dallas. So absolutely huge that, what he's been doing. Obviously, with no Luka, someone had to pick up the scoring slack because you knew Kyrie was going to score. Well, you hoped he did. But they needed one more guy to go off, whether that was PJ, whether that was Tim, whether that was Exum making a lot of threes, maybe if he wasn't being guarded, maybe Gafford in the pick and roll. But they needed something, and it was PJ. He had played 40 minutes. What I thought was really good from him tonight was obviously the threes were falling. Funny enough, he still can't make corner threes. But his above the break 3 was looking good. He had a quick trigger too, man. I mean, there were a couple he took where I was like, I don't know.
Really?
He was not hesitating, which I guess is good. You don't want him hesitating.
Right. And when Luka is out, of course, someone's going to have to. Kyrie's obviously going to be the alpha. Someone's got to be number 2, and you could have predicted that it would be PJ. But I thought one other thing that was really awesome to see about his game was that, yes, he knew he needed to step up, but all of those shots, even the quick trigger, it was all within the flow of the offense. That was the correct shot at the correct time. Even when he took the ball and dribbled and got into the lane, you never felt like he was forcing it or that he felt like, I'm under pressure to score, so I've got to dribble 6 times and not pass the ball. Everything he did was offensively sound, and he went off.
Yeah. He didn't really hog the ball. He had a couple bad turnovers, but that's okay. But like his shot selection, like you said, maybe you question the quick trigger a little bit on some of those threes, but I mean, he made them. I mean, he's 5 of 8. I mean, his shot chart was great. Like, he wasn't pounding the ball. He wasn't taking like weird long twos, which sometimes these guys do when they're stepped up in a heightened role and they're expected to take on more of the scoring burden. He was 5 of 8 from 3. He only took 1 mid-range shot and he missed it. Everything else was threes and paint. He was 5 of 6 at the rim, 2 of 3 in the paint away from the rim. Like, really, really good shot selection, moving off the ball. I thought what was pretty interesting about this game was there was no Maxi Kleber as well as no Luka Doncic. And Jason Kidd decided pretty early, like, we're just not going to play a traditional backup center. Dwight Powell played 8 minutes. I think most of those were in the first half. He was not good. He missed a chippy around the rim. He did have 2 steals and an assist. So he did make some plays, but he was -5, only had 2 points in 8 minutes, missed a chippy near the basket. And I don't think he played in the second half. And if he did, it was very minimal. And they rolled with – this was – I want to say this is the first time we've seen extensive PJ at the 5, which he did a decent amount in Charlotte. And we just haven't seen that in Dallas because, they trade for Gafford. They've got Lively. They've got Gafford. They've got Maxey. They just haven't really had to do it. There just hasn't been a scenario where they feel like they've needed to because they've dominated the paint so much with Gafford and Lively before Lively got hurt recently. So it was interesting to see him at the 5. Some cool things. I mean, he got some good pick and roll buckets in the paint and that's scoring at the rim. Even his game-winning shot, he's playing off ball and they're playing 5 out and he's the center and he's able to get closer to the basket. When he's playing with a center, I feel like he kind of fades and he's more of a spot-up guy. When he was playing the 5, I felt like he was setting more ball screens. He was rolling to the rim a little bit better because when he's playing with Gafford or Lively, if he does set a screen, he's not really rolling because he's rolling into because Gafford and Lively are going to be near the block. So there's nothing really for him to roll into. So when he's playing the 5, he got to roll because there was spacing. Not the best spacing, but there was some because, Derrick Jones Jr. Couldn't really make any threes, but that's okay. And I thought there were a couple possessions that were kind of weird. They had him in the corner when he was playing the 5. And they had Tim Hardaway Jr. setting a screen for Kyrie. And it's like, guys, PJ can't hit 3. Like, why are you spotting him up in the corner as a center when he's playing center when he can't hit 3s? But they didn't. They kind of got away from that, thankfully. But I like seeing him at the 5. And he had more responsibility when he was playing the 5 defensively. So I think for his offense to not taper off, like to have to have his best offensive game in Dallas on the same night, he's having to play 40 minutes. And a lot of those are backup 5, which is a lot of grunt work. I thought that was impressive.
Definitely, yeah. And his effort on the defensive end never shrank due to the increased offensive load. It's, it's all happening at the right time, and you don't want to be a victim of the moment and start projecting all these great results that we've had recently into the future. But it's getting harder and harder not to think that way.
Yeah, it was awesome. Basically, this is the kind of game. This is why you trade for him. This is why you give a first-round pick. Not only for his contributions when the team's healthy, but your stars are going to occasionally miss a game, and you need guys to pop off every now and then. Like you just can't win consistently. I mean, you can, maybe not consistently. If you just need Luka and Kyrie to score 30 points between them every time, like you need a couple role guys to go off. And it was PJ's night, and he was awesome. We're going to take a quick break for our audio-only listeners. We're going to insert an ad here really quick. For those of you watching live, watching on YouTube, please like the stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're doing our normal shill time right now. Normally that's Kirk, so I'll try to do a good job because he's the salesman of the two of us for sure. So we really appreciate any likes. We appreciate any subscribes to our YouTube channel. We appreciate comments. Just anytime you guys interact with us on YouTube is really great as we continue to try to get the YouTube channel off the ground. Audio only feed, if you're an audio only listener, leave comments, reviews on whichever podcast service you're using. So make sure you're subscribed to our feed if you're not already. We really appreciate all the love and support we've gotten this season. We've had some really nice comments. We've really appreciated it. And so for those of you on the audio only feed, we will take a quick ad break. For those of you watching live, we'll just take a little quick pause. We'll be right back.
Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for the playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with NBA, NHL, and college basketball entries today on PrizePicks. PrizePicks even offers injury insurance so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. So for basketball games, this means if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and doesn't return in the second, that player projection won't count against you and the rest of your entry stays live. Download the app today and use the code BLUEWIRE for a first deposit match up to $100. That code is BLUEWIRE for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Okay, we're back. Trying to think of where we want to go next. I think Kyrie had a really interesting game. He wasn't efficient, but like he played hard. Like his energy and effort level, I think, was contagious. Like
Absolutely.
Something I talk about with Luka, and he does this really well when he's really engaged and locked into a game. Like your stars set the tone, and everyone kind of falls in line after them. And I think Kyrie set the tone with his aggressiveness, and I think his defensive effort and hustle was pretty consistent throughout the game. And even though he didn't have the best box score game he's had since he's been in Dallas, I thought he was a tone setter, and you need your stars to do that.
And again, what did he have? 9, 11 in the fourth, something like that. Again, just that's a.
He had 9 points in the fourth quarter. He had 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block in the fourth quarter.
I mean, it's a broken record. This is just what he does. He closes games out. Like you said, it wasn't the most efficient shooting night, but he ended up on a lot of those drives. He ended up on his back on the ground a lot. And yeah, it's infectious when you see your alpha out there. Laying it all on the line. Everybody else follows, and that the main takeaway from Kyrie for me was another great fourth quarter. The guy just can't seem to do much wrong with the game on the line. He made the right decisions out of those double teams, and even though they were forcing him to give it up a lot of the time, makes the right reads. Chooses his spots where he can attack, and that pull-up is it's deadly.
It is deadly. Yeah, he was great. One more individual player I want to shout out before I want to talk about just the overall Mavericks defensive effort, because they played a hell of a defensive game in this one. But Daniel Gafford, the other trade deadline acquisition, would you believe the 31 minutes Gafford played tonight is the most minutes he's played since being traded to Dallas? And it's the only time. It's right, and it's the only time he's been at 30 minutes or more. Somehow.
Wow.
I know, right?
Wow.
I know.
And he's been the starting 5 for 20 games.
Yeah, and he hasn't been in a ton of foul trouble. They just, with Lively, they like to split those minutes. But Lively's been hurt for 3 games now, and they haven't really ridden him too hard until tonight, which is the most he's played. And he was pretty indispensable. 10 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists. His assists are just
That's
hilarious,
wild.
man. It's hilarious, the assist numbers from him.
It was one of the first plays in one of the first Mavs possessions in the first quarter when he came up on that high post look and did one of those passes to a cutter. That I feel like they've unlocked something here, and when you talk about giving PJ minutes at backup 5 by necessity, they may have unlocked something there too. I'm not sure when the team's healthy how many minutes there are for PJ at 5, but the five looks better than ever, assuming that we will get healthy at some point.
Yeah, for sure. The high post thing, like, it's just, I'm going to be honest. I did not watch a lot of Daniel Gafford in Washington. I didn't watch a lot of him in Chicago. It's hard to watch other teams when you're covering a specific team for 82 games a year, plus preseason, plus offseason, plus potential postseason. It's a lot. You just don't have a lot of free time to watch a ton of other teams. I don't remember him ever doing this. And, forgive me if I missed the stretch in his career where he looked like mini Jokic, but like the randomness of him just being like, yeah, we're just going to run our offense through him through the high post and he's going to find backdoor cutters. Like, what? Like, where did this come from? 7 of his last 9 games, he's had 3 assists or more. That's wild. Like, I just never saw that coming. So he was tremendous, and they seem to really trust him with this. And it flows into, it's really important that they've been finding this, by the way, because it's diversifying the offense even further, getting the ball out of Luka's hands, using him as more of a decoy, letting Kyrie set screens, because Kyrie, by the way, is usually the guy setting the back screen for these backdoor cuts. And when your stars are doing stuff off the ball, like, it doesn't have to be a lot. Like, they don't have to do a lot, but it's so impactful when they do anything off the ball, because the way the modern NBA is and the way these defenses are being strained, like, you can't cover everything. And if your stars are willing to do a little bit of grunt work off the ball, it just opens up so much. And if your role players magically turn into great passers like Gafford has, or maybe he's had it all along and no one really figured out how to utilize it, I don't know, but it's been awesome. Gafford had a great game. And I want to kind of shift into the defensive effort. Like, the Warriors shot 44%, not horrible, but not great. A lot of their damage was done by the bench, and Chris Paul, Gary Payton, Brandon Podziemski scored a lot of their points. Their starting lineup didn't shoot well at all. No one in their starting lineup shot better than 50% from the floor. Steph Curry, despite going kind of bananas in the fourth quarter, which, hey, that's going to happen. He's Steph Curry. He scored 14 points in the fourth, 5 of 10 from the floor, hit 2 massive three-pointers down the stretch, hit a game-tying shot with 12 seconds. But he had a bad game. He was 9 of 23, 5 of 14 from 3. Like, I don't think Derrick Jones Jr. gets the game ball because of how, great PJ Washington played. He might have been the second or third most valuable player on the floor tonight, after maybe Kyrie or Gafford. Like, that dude, there's not enough I could say about his defensive effort and the impact he makes. He had 3 blocks. Like, his ability, because the way the Mavericks are playing defense with Gafford and Lively, like, they're not switching a lot. They do occasionally. They're not blitzing a ton because they want to keep Gafford and Lively near the basket, because those guys have been incredible at locking down the paint. Well, if you're going to play that way, you need perimeter defenders that can get through a screen. Like, it's the most common play in basketball, the pick and roll. If you cannot get around a screen and your big man is backing off to try to wall off the paint and the rim, because that's where they're most comfortable, you're going to give up walk-in, rhythm, pull-up three-pointers, pull-up mid-rangers, floaters, even layups, because you're giving these guards a runway to the rim. Makes it harder for Gafford and Lively to stop a guard with a full head of steam if they come around that pick and no one's there. Like, Jones deserves a medal for the way he's been guarding the pick and roll, and his size too. Like, he's 6'6" and long. Like, he's fighting through screens. He's staying attached to those ball handlers. He's blocking jumpers. Like, I can't say enough. And he put on a defensive clinic tonight, and I think he was the main reason why Steph didn't really look comfortable until that, end of the game, fourth quarter.
Definitely. It's very hard to make Steph look, even a little above average, and you can't really quantify except for, 3 blocks and however many steals, but it goes beyond that when you're limiting a guy like Steph Curry, and you absolutely have to because your guy is out tonight. You cannot sing his praises in a high enough key.
Yeah, and it's needed. His defensive level has not dropped off lately because teams are starting to make notice that he's basically an offensive zero. No disrespect to him, but teams are not guarding him anymore. It was really fun in December and November when, December he averaged 12.5 points per game. Like he was on a heater, not necessarily making a ton of threes. I mean, he was making a decent amount of threes, but his just ability to kind of rim run a little and his drive ability, and I think teams were caught a little off guard. He's not that anymore, as teams have kind of remembered, like, oh, you're Derrick Jones Jr. We're not going to close out hard on you and let you drive past us and get layups. Like, we're going to ignore you. We're going to put a center on you. We're going to play free safety off of you and hope that your offense is so bad it cancels out your defense. So far, the first loss to Golden State on April 2nd, so earlier this week, his offense was bad enough that it did not cancel out his defense. These last 2 games, this Hawks game and this game against the Warriors, his defense has been so good, it hasn't mattered that teams aren't guarding him. So kudos to him for keeping that type of defensive effort up. Like, that's pretty important. One thing I wanted to ask you, because go ahead.
I was just going to say, and, as the offense in general heats up a little bit, you can hide him on offense a little bit. You don't have to expose him with all the different options that you have available to you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If he's your weakest link, maybe in the playoffs, that's a little bit of an issue, but they find ways around it, and he's active enough off the ball that I think that they're able to work around it. But yeah, he was great. I thought the Mavericks defensive scheme was pretty good. They didn't give up a ton of corner threes. If I don't remember, I want to take a look real quick. They gave up 7 corner threes. Golden State only hit 2, so they got kind of lucky there. But they locked down the paint again. The Warriors were 17 and 29 at the rim. That's 58%. That's under the league average of 66. They were 6 of 21 in the paint outside the restricted area, 28%, league average 44. Teams don't score in the paint. Like, Gafford's been huge. Washington's ability to be an active long defender as that low man crashing down when Gafford does need to rotate out a little bit. Like, teams are just getting nothing easy on the Mavericks right now, and it's been fun to watch. I want to ask you one thing because we haven't talked about it yet. We should have talked about it at the end of the game. We were talking about like the late game stuff. What did you think of Golden State leaving 12 seconds for the Mavericks at the end of the game when Steph Curry took that game-tying shot?
Yeah, you don't want to leave 12 seconds. In the flow of that specific possession, that was a good shot to take. And if he had tried to create something else instead, would it have been as good? These are questions we maybe can't answer, but no, I mean, I think you even said at the time, they just lost the game right there.
Finally got one right in Slack. Finally got a good prediction. But yeah, like they could have ended the game either with a 3-pointer or they could have sent it to overtime. Like, it was pretty crazy that they left 12 seconds. Now the Mavericks left 4, but like, as you could tell on that last possession where the Mavericks played it extremely well, there's a big difference between 12 and 4. So yeah, it was kind of weird.
I mean, my knees were knocking with 4.5 seconds left for sure. But again, that was the correct play at the correct time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that defensive possession at the end was great. I mean, Steph, they made the inbound difficult. They doubled Steph at the right time. So and from the right place too. Like there wasn't, when he was doubled, that was kind of the game. Like the possession was blown up and they were going to have to make a miracle shot because there wasn't an easy outlet for him. Whoever was open on the weak side, like he was not making that pass. And then they had to shuffle it to Clay. So, I mean, the Mavericks executed down the stretch. I mean, aside from giving up some Steph buckets, I mean, Kyrie made a good rhythm shot down the stretch. They get the PJ Washington layup. They get the defensive stop. Like, the Mavericks are a good clutch team, by the way. Like, that's another clutch win. They're the best. I think they have the best clutch winning percentage in the NBA right now. So, things are looking good. The standings wise, they're looking good. Schedule wise, they got 5 games left. I think they only have one more. They got another game against Houston, but Houston has been officially, I think, eliminated from the play-in, so they don't have much to play for. They play Miami, and then other than that, they play Oklahoma City at the last game, which they might not be playing for anything depending on the standings shake out. And then they got some Detroit, they got Charlotte. Like, the Mavericks, they should get to 50 wins if there's not if they don't get any more injuries. I mean, they just got to go 3-2 in their final 5 games, and 2 of them are Charlotte and Detroit. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but things are looking pretty good. Nothing much to complain about. I don't know. Do you got any other kind of thoughts? Because I feel like I think I've emptied my brain on this one. Anything else that we haven't gotten to that you want to mention?
Well, I mean, as things look like, this would be an understandable loss, and maybe we won't get this one sometime around the second or third quarter when those thoughts start passing through your mind. My reaction to thinking that was, no, I would really hate to split the season series with, what are they going to be, the 9 seed maybe?
The Warriors, they're pretty locked into 10.
10. Okay. So I would really hate to split the season series to the Warriors at 10. 3-1 just has a much better ring to it, and I guess that I was thinking about that a lot in the second and third quarter.
For sure. And this would have been a game like if they lost, it's like no Luka, second out of back-to-back. Like, you would kind of understand it. And the way they were able to kind of pull out a grimy win. Like, the Mavericks are winning ugly games. I did not think that was going to happen this season, even if I did feel a little high on the team preseason-wise. Like, I just didn't think they were going to win games like this. So, pretty impressive. With that, I think we're going to do it. We've been talking for almost 35 minutes. Matt, thank you so much. Read all of his work at MavsMoneyball.com. Had a very funny Chevy Chase post because for some reason Chevy Chase was at the Mavericks-Hawks game. I said in Slack, I was like, I think his kid goes to SMU, and we Google searched it. I was like, no. Like, he has no Dallas ties, so we have no idea why he was there. Matt took a good opportunity to have some fun with it, write a post, and then you will see Matt's name. Pick a post-game post, a recap, stats. Matt has probably written it. He's been our game day coverage MVP this season. So glad to have you on the podcast for once. Glad to give Kirk a day off, so to speak. So again, Matt, thanks for joining me tonight.
Absolutely, man. This was fun.
Yeah, for sure. This is Pod Maverick After Dark. Check out our post-game coverage in the written word instead of audio form on MavsMoneyball.com. Again, the Mavericks beat the Golden State Warriors 108-106. The Mavericks are now at 47 wins, 47-30. 5 games remaining. They are zeroing in on another 50-win season. So all good. Y'all enjoy your weekend. We will be back Sunday when the Mavericks play the Houston Rockets in Dallas. Until then, this is Josh Bowe for Matt Martinez. We'll talk to you guys later.
See ya.
Whether you're a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring podcasts on the Blue Wire Network. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. If you haven't heard of the EE System yet, then you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Wherever you are across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. Interested in experiencing the EE system technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/bluewire to learn more and find a center near you. That's unified, UNIFYD healing.com/bluewire. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE system.